Hello everybody and welcome back to another tutorial. In today's video I'm actually going to show you something that I ran into with a friend of mine a couple days ago. They needed to get Windows 10 ISO downloaded, installed from a MacBook onto their Windows computer. Their Windows computer became corrupt, so there was no way to actually fix it. They don't have any backups, whatever. This person here is not computer savvy and they just use their computer mainly for schoolwork. All their stuff gets backed up, obviously, onto a thumb drive and stuff like that. But the operating system, they just don't do this. So it's not uncommon. I'm not, hating on this. But the problem is that I've never actually had to do this before, because usually I have, some kind of tool with me or formatting of an ISO file or something. But the only thing that they had in their house was a MacBook Air. So they had a Windows laptop that was non-functioning, and then they had a MacBook Air. So after a little bit of digging, it's pretty straightforward how to put a Windows ISO onto a flash drive using Mac. The problem is that most people really aren't explaining it very well. Or they just assume this works 100%, and too bad if it doesn't work, or it worked for me, so if it worked for me, then you're not doing it right. And that's not really the way this works, because there's a lot of different ways you can actually do this. I found out. I found a lot of people had different results each time. So the two main ones I noticed that people had best results were using these two styles of command. One was the MS-DOS 32, and then the other one was exFAT. The other problem with that is it all depends on what kind of laptop you have, because Windows has Secure Boot, it has legacy computers. So some people use Secure Boot all the time. I personally have it on my computer, but a friend of mine does not. They never had it, or they never turned it on, or the last people they brought it to didn't do it. Whatever the case be, it is what it is. So I realized that doing one of these actually didn't work out in my favor at all. It actually just failed every time, and I spent 3 hours trying to help them, and got nowhere until I realized, when I actually looked at the code here, or the command, what I did wrong. See, most people will actually ask you to change this from MBR to GPT, and GPT can work, but so far I have not gotten it to work at all on any modern Secure Boot computers, or any kind of, actually I haven't got it to work at all yet. Every time I keep doing it, MBRs work the best, but I've had people say on forums and everything that it worked great. So in that case, this video is pretty much just going to be, I guess, what worked for me and what I've tested out for everybody, and what I feel you're going to have a much higher success rate if you follow these steps, as opposed to driving yourself insane with other people saying, well, it worked for me, so it's got to go. You're doing it wrong. You're probably not doing it wrong if you follow my steps and it doesn't work. It just probably there's some kind of setting that you're not seeing or not aware of that's stopping it from working. Like I said, with the exFAT here, see, if you're going to do a Windows 10 CD with MS-DOS 32, it can't go any higher than 4 gigs. Not the CD. The CD can go higher than 4 gigs, as I'll show you right here. But the actual, no, if it did open up, oh, it did. So you can see here, it's a little under 4.25 gigs, but the actual file size, so each individual file cannot go any higher than 4 gigs. Now, some copies of Windows 10 that people have downloaded are 5.5 gigs, and the actual installer itself is 4.5 gigs. So this command here is going to fail every single time, because it's going to get to that install.wim file or the install.esd file, whatever you have, and it's going to be like, yeah, it's not going to work. So the other thing I did find out too is that even though you can download directly from Microsoft, I realized too that the Windows media tool, the media creation tool, this works the best on that, because the Windows media creation tool makes a very small ISO that just needs the basics to get you going, and it doesn't come with all the other extra add-ons that you'd buy if you went to the store and bought an OEM. So again, there is a lot of give and take the way you want to do this. And again, this is not really an ideal scenario either. I mean, I just happened to run into this because they didn't have anything else but this, so I was kind of forced into doing this. So yeah, what we're going to end up doing now is we're just going to show you real quickly how to pretty much prep everything, set it all up, and I will show you at the end of the video how I got mine to work through using Secure Boot. And honestly, it was just pretty much plugging in and letting it go. And it installed just fine. So the first thing you got to do is start downloading the ISO from Microsoft. So you're pretty much just going to open up Safari. You're going to type in Windows 10 ISO. And then from here, you're just going to click on the first link from Microsoft's website and just download the ISO directly from them. See, with Windows, they automatically make you download the media creation tool, which is a great tool to have. And honestly, I think it works better. But with Microsoft, they're just going to give you straight up the actual ISO file. So you're going to want to do this first. And the only reason is because it's going to take roughly about 20 minutes. Depending on how slow or fast your internet connection is. Mine took about between 15 and 20 minutes. And like I tell anybody, you're going to want to have at least 6 gigs free on your hard drive. You're not going to probably need more than, like I said, probably 4, technically 4.5. But I always say at least have 6 gigs. Some people are like, I don't have a lot of space. So for you to actually do this with no problems either, make sure you got plenty of hard drive space. So the first thing we got to do here is we got to open up a terminal. And then we got to figure out where our USB drive is. Now, as you can see here, I already plugged mine in. It's going to be SAN32. But according to this little guide I wrote up, we're actually going to go ahead and change it to Win10 so we know exactly what it is. So first thing is first, you're going to type in diskutil, which stands for disk utility, and you're going to type in list. So as you can see here, I have a lot to choose from. You have your basic internal disks, your Apple containers, then I actually have a untitled storage drive on here. So what I'm looking for here is what it's actually called. So as you can see here, it actually is listed as SAN32. That makes it the easiest to find it, because that's SAN32, that's SAN32. What disk is it? Disk number 3. Beautiful. So right here, normally it would either be disk 1 or 2 depending on certain people, but in my case it is bigger, so just verify. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go down to here, I'm going to edit this real quickly, because what I'm going to do is just pretty much just copy and paste it to make life easy for myself and to make this video a little bit shorter because I talked a lot at the beginning. So again, what we're going to find out is this CD that I downloaded, my Windows 10 1903, as we're going to open up again, as you can see, it's only 4.5 gigs. So according to this setup here, if the installer is less than 4.5 gigs, use the 32-bit. If it's much larger, say you have an all-in-one CD, you're going to want to go ahead and use this as your setup. Now you can also do this actually in the disk utility if you're more comfortable doing that. But this I'm going to try to keep as command-based as possible because it only takes a few seconds. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy all this, paste it into here. Now, pretty much what it's telling it, the system to do is, open up disk utility, erase the disk, format for MS-DOS, which is MS-DOS FAT32, label it as the Win10, and then make the base partition a MBR or master boot record. And then it's asking what is the disk we want to do it to, and obviously our SAN32 flash disk. Go ahead and press enter. And as you can see, it went ahead and removed it, and then once it's all done, it will go ahead and remount it. And there we go. So you can see it's remounted as Windows 10, what we chose to be. So this is perfect. All right, so the next one here is just asking you to go ahead and mount your actual ISO file. Now mine's on my desktop, so to make this video as accurate as possible, I'm actually going to go ahead and copy this right into my downloads folder so we can run the next line of script. But realistically, all you would have to do is just right click or double click it and it'll go ahead and mount it for you if it's on your desktop. So here, I want to go ahead and use the HD utilities or the hard drive utilities, and I want to mount a certain ISO file as I got written right here. So let's see, go ahead and mount that ISO. And as you can see here, it went ahead and mounted it. Now the name of my ISO is ESD-ISO. Now this is created with the Windows Media Creator tool, so that's why mine's a little bit different. Yours could be listed as something even more, eccentric, like CODV 333FXY, some long name on top of that. So you just got to make sure you pay attention what the name of the actual ISO file is once you mount it, because it becomes very important in the next one, because the next one, all we're going to do is just copy all the stuff from one to the other. So as you can see here, it's pretty simple. All you got to do is just copy and paste. So what it's telling us to do is to copy everything from ESD-ISO to Win10. Go ahead and press enter. Now in this right here, your flash drive, if it's got a light on it, should blink a lot and do what it has to do. But as you can see here, it doesn't actually show you anything. And that's okay. This method is going to take roughly around 20 minutes, give or take a minute or two from each end. But if you want, what you can go ahead and do real quickly, if you just want to make sure it actually is running, you would just double click on your actual file, and as you can see here, it is copying everything over. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually pause the video, and I'm going to come back once it's all done, just so that I can keep this video as short as possible. Okay, so now we're all done. As you can see, when it's completed, it doesn't give you a success or anything like that. It pretty much just shows a next terminal screen. So when I open up my Windows 10 ISO USB, everything is here. If I click on sources, I go to size, as you can see, my install.esd is now here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close it. So the next part here, it all depends on what your Windows computer is based on. I'm basing everything on Secure Boot because most computers have Secure Boot turned on if you purchased it within the last 5 years or so, maybe longer now, I don't even remember. So there's a very good chance you're going to have Secure Boot turned on. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hop over, I'm going to create another virtual machine as if everything is all ready to go. And what's going to end up happening with that is I'm going to show you how to boot to it. Now, the way I'm going to boot to it might be a little bit different than how you do it. You can see with VMware, it doesn't let you boot to ISO off of USB natively using UEFI. But the way I do it is actually the same way you can do it as well if you're having problems like I was having at first. So let's go ahead, hop right over to the next screen and check out how to actually do the install with a fresh computer. Okay, so I went ahead and I created my brand new Windows 10 VM, and just to show you that I have the settings already here for UEFI and Secure Boot, and that's just for this video. If you're running a regular computer with BIOS or just regular UEFI, this portion really doesn't do anything for you. But I'm just showing you that if you do have a modern laptop, you have UEFI turned on, Secure Boot turned on, which is probably what is the case for you, I'm just going to let you know this actually does work with Secure Boot. So from here, you're going to want to go ahead and boot to your BIOS. So I'm just going to go ahead and boot to my BIOS. And then I just want to make sure that my flash drive is connected. So before you do this, make sure obviously your flash drive is connected to your laptop while doing this. Now, from here, it can be different for everybody as well. In my case, I have to actually add the boot sector or the boot config to my BIOS. I have ran into some laptop and desktop configurations where if you're running Secure Boot, it only lets you boot from the hard drive or the CD-ROM drive, nothing else, or obviously network in this case. So what you have to actually do is you have to actually tell it, hey, you need to boot to my USB drive. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter setup, boot from a file, and you can see here it found my USB as it's labeled Windows 10. And then from here it's very simple to do this. In any case, you can do this with anything. So if you made an actual USB drive and it's not booting to your USB because Secure Boot's acting weird, you can do this as well through that. So from here I'm going to press enter to select the flash drive, and you can see here it finds all the different files. But we're going to need the EFI folder. And then from here, we're going to click on boot, and we're just going to tell it that to boot the x64 EFI file. Now, every single secure boot file or Windows file, technically, or Windows installer has this file. So you can go ahead and boot to this. And then within a few minutes, we'll be greeted with the install file. Okay, so now we're at the Windows setup screen, and then from here, we're just going to go ahead and click next, and then click install now. And that's actually it. As you can see, we went ahead and created a fully functioning Windows ISO, Windows bootable USB on a Mac. This can be done actually on any Mac, technically, from I think 10, 12 and above. Maybe beforehand, because it is MS-DOS, but they didn't introduce, I believe, FAT32 until I think 10.12 or 10.11, something like that. So again, if you're using a modern Mac, which probably you will be, this will work out just fine for you no matter what. Even if you're using an older Mac, I do know you can create this actual setup in Yosemite, in Maverick as well, which is 10.9, and probably before that too. I haven't tried before that as well. And then, like I said, as you can see here, we're going to go ahead and just go ahead and install your Windows. And then once everything's all done, you'll have a fully functioning Windows. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video here because I don't think it's the point to show anybody how to install Windows from this point, if you should already know how to do that. So again, if you like the video, like it, subscribe. If you have any questions or comments about anything in the video, you can go ahead and put it down below. From that point here, I can try my best to help you out if you're having some certain issues. I try to do my best to cover everything you'll possibly need. But then again, in this case, there's a lot of different variables that you can probably run into when trying to do this. But for the most part, what I showed you how to do will be from start to finish on any basically legacy computer. Also, if you're running any versions of Windows 8 and under, so Windows 7, Windows 8, technically XP, if you're trying to do any of these installs, will work exactly as I showed you with no problem at all. Without having to worry about it. This is more or less for people who need Windows 10 on a secure boot laptop. They don't know how to turn secure boot off or something like that, so it is kind of particular. But again, like I said, like, subscribe, stop in. I try to do different videos on many different topics from Windows, Mac, Linux. I do pfSense and EXXI as well. So yeah, I hope you guys liked the video, and if not, well, then you didn't. I can't help you. So thank you and have a great night, everybody. I'll see you at the next video.